Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with the My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of November 2nd to November 8th, 2025, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about them. And we have three stories to cover this week, including an interesting report that indicates that Nintendo may be open to buying more studios. Nintendo releasing their financial report and everything, and supposedly a lawsuit that they filed against somebody who basically tried to stream or emulate their game, and well, let's just say taunting them probably did not help the situation at all. So this one's more of a Nintendo cover or a Nintendo themed one though. If you're interested in where I got the source of this information, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you watch this either on YouTube or Patreon. And of course, timestamps will also be in the description as well if there are certain parts of this video you wish to skip to and all. But before we get started, I would like to start with basically the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one has to do is that a new trailer came out for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which we all know that will be coming out next month and everything like that. I am definitely looking forward to getting this game, though I do enjoy the Metroid Prime series. I am very curious to see how this one's going to play, especially with that motorcycle bike-like vehicle that Samus Aran is riding, though. And it has raised speculation of whether this could be open world or not. Although there have been some reports some reports that have come out claiming that it's not going to be open world, but it's probably going to be some of the areas will be huge and everything like that. So that is a possibility, indeed. But in either case, I am looking forward to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, nevertheless. We also learned that supposedly the Switch 2 version of Warframe is officially going to be launching in 2026. So obviously for Switch 2 owners, that's something to look forward to. For what I understand, the development team is working, the original development team is working on this. I haven't heard if Panic Button was or not. They were the ones that handled the Switch 1 port, I think, a couple years ago. So it'll be interesting to see how this one is received for those who are thinking about maybe getting the game for the Switch 2 version. Bear in mind, I do believe it is a free-to-play type of game, so those type of games may or may not appeal to everybody out there. That comes down to your preference and your taste and all. We also learned that Ubisoft seems to have more than one Rayman project in the works and everything, which is certainly interesting indeed, because there have been some questions about the fate of Rayman even after the original creator, left Ubisoft and everything. So if what Ubisoft is saying is true, I think that's really good to see them not abandoning that character and all. In terms of what direction they will go, that remains to be seen. We don't know if it's another in a 2D outing or if they're going to take it into like a 3D approach we've seen with some past Rayman games out there before. So time will ultimately tell exactly what direction they are going with this next Rayman game and everything. We also learned that that new 2D Terminator 2 game, No Fate, has been delayed again. This has to do with some of the physical side of it, though, as it appears that they managed to excuse me, sorry about that, get supposedly a lot of the stuff ready for the physical version, but it's going to take a little bit longer than they had originally thought, though. So it is a little bit unfortunate indeed, but it is definitely a game I'm keeping an eye out and looking at. It looks really good. It looks like something that, like a type of game that Ray Ford would do and everything. So this one I'm going to keep an eye out, indeed. And last but not least, we're also learning that GTA 6 has been delayed again, and this time they're aiming for a November 2026 release date and all, which, I mean, there's a lot of anticipation riding on that game, indeed, though, and obviously Rockstar does not want to screw it up, though. I think the part that worries me a little bit is that there's a lot of hype for GTA 6 and everything like that, but I'm worried that hype could lead to disappointment at all. So clearly there is some concerns, especially none of them wants to create another Cyberpunk 2077 situation. We all know how that played out and everything like that. So hopefully the delay is worth it, and we'll see exactly see how GTA 6 looks and everything like that. another thing is that we've yet to see some actual gameplay and everything like that. I know they've put out some videos claiming it is, but I would like to see some actual gameplay of GTA 6. That's what's been kind of bothering me a little bit about this in regards of GTA 6 and all. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we are learning that basically, supposedly, a new trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie will debut this month, at least according to the claims, though. There have been some reports that it might premiere for those who are going to see the movie Wicked Good, if I'm saying the name correctly and all, though. I'm still a little surprised that Nintendo and Illumination and Universal are going from the Super Mario Brothers to the Super Mario Galaxy movie, though. There was a lot, I still thought it was sort of interesting they're doing that, considering that those who saw the end credit scenes, though, saw the Yoshi egg, and the idea was they would go to Super Mario World and everything like that. So to go to Mario Galaxy that's very interesting indeed. Nevertheless, though, I did enjoy the first movie, and this is one I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out and everything. Along with that, though, we are learning that Nintendo is preparing for more movies in the future and all. Excuse me, sorry about the coughing and everything. Apparently, this isn't really surprising considering the fact that the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie has definitely helped pave the way for them preparing for more movies and all. I mean, we know just recently they did a Pikmin short and everything, so it will be interesting to see what new movies will be coming out from them. We know that they're working on the live-action Legend of Zelda movie, which reports have indicated that they are starting filming with this one, though. But beyond that, and the Super Mario Galaxy movie, it'll be interesting to see what other IPs they're going to put up on the big screen. Maybe Metroid, maybe Kid Icarus, maybe Star Fox, maybe Fire Emblem. So, excuse me, there's certainly a lot they could choose from, and we'll see how that one is going to play out, especially the live-action Zelda one, to see how that is going to go and everything. I'm still mixed on the decision to do a live-action approach on this one, though, as I prefer like maybe an anime style, but nevertheless, we've yet to see any synopsis or any pictures or even any trailers, so I'm going to hold up reservation on the live-action Zelda movie for now, but I still have some concerns about that, but time will tell on that one, to be exact. We also learned that apparently 2 of Marvel's or Sony's Spider-Verse movies, or Spider-Man cinematic universe that they were trying to create, excuse me, basically are becoming a hit on the streaming services, though. Apparently it's been reported that Madam Web and Crave the Hunter seems to be doing way better on the streaming services than in the box office, which is interesting indeed, because after Crave the Hunter bombed, it definitely hit the pause button on any more of basically Sony doing any more of their Spider-Man cinematic universe movies and everything like that, other than focusing on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that trilogy, and the Spider-Man movies in coordination with Marvel Studios and everything. So, sorry. So, very interesting to see that one do very well. On the other hand, we saw something similar with Captain America Brave New World and Thunderbolt, which I would say didn't do as well in the box office as some have hoped for, but seemed to have done very well when they premiered on Disney Plus and all. So I guess that's kind of a similar situation we're seeing this Marvel or Spider-Man Cinematic Universe movie and all. We're also learning that supposedly Sinclair CEO is not happy with the situation surrounding YouTube TV and Disney. This has to do with Disney pulling some channels from YouTube TV and everything. This includes ABC and ESPN as well. And there's been indication that the blackout for them might last a bit longer. I find it interesting it's coming from excuse me, Sinclair Broadcasting, considering the whole situation surrounding Jimmy Kimmel and everything and how that ultimately backfired onto them and everything. But nevertheless, though, this whole Disney YouTube situation is, let's just say, not great for consumers, to be exact, though. And last but not least, we're learning that Comcast is considering looking at buying Warner Brothers Discovery. As the report says, they have hired a financial firm and everything to look into it. They're sort of the second one we've heard this, considering Netflix was the first. It will be very interesting to see what Comcast does and whether or not they truly do decide to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, although there has been some reports that if they do make a bid, that they are looking at maybe buying some of Warner Brothers, not all of it. So we'll see what comes out of this. To be exact, though, we know Netflix has thrown their hat in. We know Paramount has made 3 attempts but has not succeeded. Excuse me. We've yet to see about basically Amazon, but I have a feeling that odds are we'll probably hear Amazon maybe throw their hat in as well too. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with a lawsuit Nintendo has filed against this so-called streamer that basically, excuse me, was pirating a lot of Nintendo's games or Switch games, to be exact though. Now, when it comes to legal actions, Nintendo is, and I've said this before, probably said this before in the past, has been known to be very, let's just say, notorious about a lot of this stuff. Sometimes, I've said before in the past, sometimes I think they could be in the right. Other times, I think they could be in the wrong, to be exact though. So it does depend on the situation, what it might be and everything like that. And I will admit there are times I do feel Nintendo can be a little bit too, let's just say, protected of their IPs and everything like that. Well, it seems to be, this may be one of the cases where, depending on how you want to look at this though, Nintendo probably was in the right to do this though. And this has to do with supposedly against a streamer who basically was live streaming pirate Switch games before they were even, excuse me, released and everything like that. And recently Nintendo has basically won a lawsuit against this streamer and all. In an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, a year after filing a lawsuit against streamer Every Game Guru, who repeatedly streamed pirated and emulated Switch games and bragged about it on social media, Nintendo has finally secured a final settlement via Torrent Freak, if I'm saying the name correctly. A Colorado federal court has ordered, as per the final judgment, that the streamer must pay Nintendo of America $17,500 in damages. The verdict follows an additional motion was filed in April 2025 after the streamer repeatedly evaded responding. Master Judge, sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, recommended to state that the streamer streaming gameplay footage before the game were released to the public, or at least 50 occasions, with Mario and Luigi Brothers shit being the most recent example. Other games included The Legend of Zelda: Echo of Wisdom, Pikmin 4, Super Mario Party Jamboree, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. However, the court has refused to issue a permanent injunction on the streamer to destroy all Corfination, again, not saying it correctly, devices, and it is unclear what purpose those would serve or to what device would be covered by this provision, as most of them are freely available on the internet. Although given Nintendo's history of going after emulators, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go after these folks and everything. Anyway, continue on. Similarly, an injunction against third parties has also been denied on the basis that the plaintiff's complaint does not allege that the defendant is working concerned with any third parties. In terms of streaming, the recommendation highlights numerous times where this person publicly acknowledged his action, including sharing links to emulated software on social media, and even directly emailing Nintendo saying that he will actively help people find new and updated copies. This person also has made public statements talking to Nintendo, such as, "You might run a corporation, I run the streets. We won't share most of those here, though as many of the posts have used strong and derogatory or inappropriate language, to be exact." The court has ordered this person to pay $17,500 and $10,000 for streaming Paper Mario: The Thousand Years Door, and $500 for 15 violations, including distributing of links to emulators, cryptic keys, and cultivating technology measures to play the unreleased games. Nintendo has until the 13th of November 2025 to submit a status report to the court laying out its next step. So I will say perhaps this person taunting Nintendo probably wasn't the smartest thing to do in the first place. And I also felt like it may have not helped this case. But in either way, it probably was not the wisest thing when it comes to, emulating these games before they were released and all. And this is where I'm kind of mixed with emulation in general. I'm not against emulation in terms of the fact of the whole game preservation argument. I do think there is a valid argument that can be made about emulations though. But at the same time, I can understand some arguments of emulating a game before it even came out. There was a situation, I believe back in 2021 with Metroid Dread, where supposedly the news site Polygon put out information to how to emulate Metroid Dread. That did not sit well with Nintendo, and ultimately they did not send a review copy to them in any way. So I kind of mix on the idea of emulation to some degree. I understand the positive, but I also understand the negative as well. Either way, though, to be exact, though, I do have to agree with Nintendo, at least on this occasion, because if these were games that weren't released yet, I could see the argument in favor of them as well. And like I said, taunting Nintendo or putting out some of these comments, yeah, that probably did not help you in court in either way, though. So it will be very interesting to see whether this is the end of the situation or if it continues on. As far as these emulation sites goes, again, I would not be surprised if Nintendo decides to go after basically some of these sites, though. I don't know if they have a great history about it, though, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do it and all and everything. So overall, I would say for this situation, in terms of a lawsuit Nintendo has filed, I would say this one I do feel like they're more in the right. I know some may or may not agree with that, but I do think I do agree side with them on this one, though. I mean, yes, I am mixed with I'm mixed on emulation in general. I do think there's both a positive and negative, as I explained before. And I think the streamer taunting Nintendo probably was not the smartest thing to do at all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Nintendo's financial report and everything. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's financial report. Now, this week they recently put it out, and for a lot of folks, we were trying to figure out to see where things stand with the Switch 2 and everything, because so far it seemed to be, we've been hearing reports here and there, and it seemed the Switch 2 seems to be doing very well, indeed, despite, the economic uncertainty that has been going around lately, though. But recently they put out their financial report, and at least according to what, again, this is what Nintendo is saying, according to them, in terms of their units so far, they have now shown that Switch 2 has sold, in terms of hardware, 10.36 million units. Software is at 20.62 million units sold. So, not bad indeed, though. Obviously, it's nowhere near the Switch 1, which is 154 million units, or software, which is like 1,452 million units. But, the system just recently came out, though. We'll see over the years where the Switch 2 is, but obviously not a bad start, though. Clearly, it's probably going to overtake the Wii U. That shouldn't be shocking to a lot of folks out there. But whether it can overtake some of the other systems out there, that remains to be seen, though. So time will ultimately tell, though. There's been some reports that the DS may not hit basically overtake the PS2, which is a possibility and everything like that. Like I said, it sits at 154 million units sold. But either way, though, not bad for the Switch 2. It's off to a good start indeed. In terms of the best-selling games, obviously right now they showed only 2, which is Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. And despite Mario Kart World, certainly depending on who you ask, there are some who love or hate that game, to be exact. According to them, they're saying that it sold 9.57 million units worldwide, so that certainly is good. And Donkey Kong Bonanza has hit 3.49 million units. So Not bad, indeed. I think that's good. I do wonder if these are more going to be into the evergreen titles, to be exact. So that is a possibility on that one, though. But either way, though, obviously these are certainly some good numbers, indeed, for Nintendo. That certainly is good. But now onto the Nintendo Switch, onto the original Switch or Switch 1 side, we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 69.56 million units, Animal Crossing New Horizon at 48.62 million units, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 36.93 million units, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 33.34 million units. Not sure if they're counting the Switch 2 edition, that they had both a physical version and, of course, the download part as well. Super Mario Odyssey at 29.84 million units. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at 27.61 million units. Pokemon Sword and Shield at 26.96 million units. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at 22.15 million units. Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Party at 21.23 million units. And New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 18.53 million units. So clearly, some good news clearly some good numbers, I would say, for Nintendo. To be exact, though, it will be interesting to see them try to keep that momentum going and everything like that. We've also learned that basically they're going to raise their forecast to 19 million units before, their next fiscal quarters or their next financial reports. Indeed, which it will be interesting if they can hit that number, though. I do think they have a good chance to hit it, but again, economic uncertainty could throw a lot of things off, but time will ultimately tell in that one. And there's also been reports that they may be pushing more effort into the Switch 2, more focus on that one, which, if that report's true, it isn't really surprising, considering there's going to be some point where they're going to have to retire the Switch 1 at some point down the road, though. So it is going to eventually happen at some point, to be exact. So it doesn't really surprise me if that turns out to be true. But in either case, though, I do think these are good numbers and all. It will be interesting to see what the next financial report numbers come out, especially with other games that we know that are coming out, like I think the new Pokemon's out, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, and even, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It will be very interesting to see what the numbers on that one are, especially since we have a Switch 1 and Switch 2 version, to be exact. So it's going to be very interesting when the next financial report comes out. But overall, I would say these are certainly good numbers, especially for the Switch 2, though. It's certainly nice to see that there are people obviously trying out Daikon Bonanza, seeing Mario Kart World, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the approach, to be exact, though. Obviously, I'm not surprised by the numbers of how that game is doing and all. So, again, interesting numbers. It'll be interesting to see what the next financial report turns out on that one. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our third and final part. And this one has to do with the report that Nintendo might be interested in buying more studios and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a report that was also part of their Nintendo financial report that came out that indicate that Nintendo may be more open to the idea of buying more studios and all. Now, compared to what we've seen with Sony and Microsoft, which have been, let's just say, or should I say mostly Microsoft, which has been more on a shopping spree excuse me, with buying studios. One of the last one was Activision Blizzard and everything. Nintendo, I would say, hasn't been on the same scale as what we saw both Sony and Microsoft doing, though. I mean, yes, they did purchase Next Level Games, but it's worth pointing out Next Level Games, when you look at their history, they have developed a lot of their games on Nintendo systems and everything like that. Shiver Entertainment, however, was a little bit surprising, considering it was sort of an odd choice, although some might view that as the decision to bring in a port house to help maybe port certain games over to like Nintendo's next system, which is now the Switch 2 and everything like that. But beyond that, Nintendo really hasn't done the biggest shopping spree when it comes to studios. Well, if this report comes out, this report from their financial report that they put out turns out to be true, it sounds like Nintendo might be changing that strategy a little bit indeed. From a article from Nintendo Life, it basically reads that, quote, Nintendo has provided the clearest indication yet that it intends to acquire more development teams to strengthen its internal development organization. The comment came seen on page 54 of its latest financial report, courtesy of Reset Era, which Nintendo laid out steps involved in utilizing funds to build the business foundation. It outright states that its plans to indicate initiatives such as acquiring development companies to make subsidize and augment our development facilities and the construction of corporate headquarters development center building number 2. This might, on the surface, at least go against Nintendo's statement last year in which they said they would rather organically expand the organization over acquiring of developments. Though while this latest reversal of the company appears to indicate a more aggressive stance, we can't imagine suddenly Nintendo going on a development shopping spree anytime soon. It's an interesting shift from the company, though. Could we perhaps see teams like Mercury System join the fold after its exceptional work on Metroid Dread? It's nothing but speculation from our part, but we think it's clear that more acquisitions will happen in the future, probably within the next financial year. So the idea of Nintendo acquiring more studios would be certainly interesting indeed, but as I mentioned before in the beginning, I don't think it's going to be on the same level as Microsoft. I do think we might see them maybe purchase, like they mentioned Mercury System here. I could see Nintendo buying them, indeed, considering that a lot of the games they've worked on have been on the Nintendo platform before in the past, and we saw how well Metroid Dread was received and everything like that. I could see them buying maybe a porthouse studio similar to Shiver Entertainment, like Panic Button, for example. We've seen them done some games on the Switch 1. Indeed, Warframe is one example. Doom Eternal, and Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus is another example. Indeed, so they could go down that route. I mean, there's been some suggestions about the possibility of them buying Rare from Nintendo, which maybe, but I don't know. The Rare that I knew back then is not the same Rare as it is today, so I'm not sure if that would actually happen or not, though. But there are some who are claiming would like to see that happen, indeed. So it would be an interesting shift from Nintendo for what they've done in the past, indeed. Also, I also heard like the studio did Echo Wisdom and the Link's Awakening port. I think Grezzo, I think that's the name exactly. That's the name I've also heard as well. So it will be interesting to see if Nintendo does go through with this and buying more studios, and I can see why, considering that to get more people to help with some of the games that they're making and everything onto like the Switch 2 and all. But I'm not expecting it to be, and I could be wrong on this, I don't expect it to be on the same scale as what Microsoft has done or even what Sony has done, though. I mean, although some could point to Sony buying Insomniac Games, which is true, but when you look at Insomniac's history, a lot of their games have been pretty much on the PlayStation system, to be exact, though. So I could see Nintendo kind of taking that similar approach, indeed. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear them acquiring more studios and everything like that. I just, like I said, don't expect it to be on the same scale as Microsoft. So overall, an interesting take to see that Nintendo may be more open to buying more studios, but it will be very interesting to see if they do go through this, what kind of studios do they purchase? Do they purchase studios that they have good relationships with, or do they do something no one would expect, like buying Shiver Entertainment? Indeed, so time will ultimately tell exactly what studios Nintendo decides to acquire and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about basically this lawsuit that supposedly Nintendo won? Do you think Nintendo was in the right to sue this streamer for pirating Switch games and everything like that? Do you think the numbers should have been higher? Do you think it should have been lower in any way? What are your thoughts about Nintendo's financial reports? Do you think these are good numbers? Indeed. Do you think that the numbers could have been higher? Do you think this is a good start for the Switch 2, especially games like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza? And what are your thoughts about Nintendo buying like studios and all? Do you think they'll take a similar approach to what Microsoft and Sony are doing, or do you think they'll take a completely different approach to this? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notification of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. The links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube or Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!